We're learning the second Sikha of Parshas Voschanan in Chelek of Dalet on page 36. The shir today is being learned Lila Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin ben Rabbi Menashe Koltman. As is Yedua the word from the Alter Rebbe, it's well known the saying of the Alter Rebbe, as Pish Rashi of Chumash is Yeina Shel Torah, that Rashi's interpretation of Chumash is the wine of Torah. What does wine of Torah mean? The wine of Torah are the secrets of Torah. It's the inside, the esoteric part of Torah. Much in Filmal gerät wegen dem Klal, was Rashi allein sagt beneged sein Pirish. It was already spoken about many times regarding the rule of what Rashi says himself regarding his Pirish on Torah. Ani lo basi elo lepshutei. That I'm only here to explain the simple and literal understanding of the pasuk. As das is nit kein stire dazu, there's no contradiction to this. Was in Sfarim von Gedolei Yisrael wird angewiesen auf die Flois in Pirish Rashi ala Torah in alle Chalkei Torah. That we find that Sfarim of very great people amongst Yidden that explain Rashi and the wonders that there are in Rashi. This is a term that the Shlach Kodesh uses, and they explain the words of Rashi in connection to all areas of Torah. Sai in Chelek halacha shebetera, explaining Rashi according to halacha. Sai in Remez, or according to Remez, the hints that there are in Torah. Drush, and expounding further in Torah, and V'sait, and the secrets of Torah. But if Rashi himself says that his Pirish is just simple Pshutei Shel Mikra, so why are they explaining Rashi on other levels? Val Pirish Rashi is L'chol HaReish Pshutei Shel Mikra. Yes, it's true that Rashi is first and foremost the simple understanding of the pasuk. Not in dem pshat, in the simple understanding that Rashi explains, was is doch shel mikra. It's the pshat of the pasuk of Chumash, or nachmer fun remez drush v'said. It's the pshat of the pasuk that contains in it the hints and the drush and the secrets as well. Is nar bayem ein mikra yitzim midei pshute. However, here Rashi is focusing on the simple pshat of the pasuk, which is to be explained simply. But it's the pshat of the pasuk, and therefore zenenda bahaltin in Yonim Neflaim von alle Chalkei Torah. So even when the way Rashi explains pshat, it's concealed in it also in all other areas of Torah, other great and amazing points that could be explained. Aber von dem oibende Montad Goshe und euch von Loshe von Alten Rebbe. However, if you look at the way the Alter Rebbe emphasizes and the words of the way the Alter Rebbe said it regarding Rashi, that Pirish Rashi of Chumash is Yeina Shel Torah. That Rashi's Pirish on Chumash, in fact, is the wine of Torah. Not just that you can take from it an understanding in relation to the secrets of Torah. Is mashma as benigay Yeina Shel Torah. So it seems that when it comes to the wine of Torah, is nit nor as a faran behaltene ramazim v'chayetze b'zeh in Rashi's verte of in Yonim Shel Razim Deiraisa. It's not only that there are hints and hidden points that you can find in the secrets of Torah that Rashi says, nor rather as Pirish Rashi is Yeina Shel Torah. That the words of Rashi is the wine of Torah, as Yeder Pirish from Rashi is Leibasi Elo Lepshutai. On one hand, as Rashi writes, that he's writing what he's writing for the simple understanding of the pasuk, but together with that, and at the same time, is this Yeina Shel Torah. The words of Rashi is the wine of Torah. Either way, there are certain Pirushim, psukim that Rashi explains on Chumash, where you can see very clearly that these are the secrets of Torah, the wine of Torah. Und eine von den Pirushe Rashi is in unser Sedre auf dem Pasuk Ata Hareisa Ladas Geimer. One of the places where you see this clearly in Rashi's explanation of the Pasuk is in the Pasuk of Ata Hareisa Ladas Hashem Hu Elokim Einad Mulvadai. So what does Rashi say on this Pasuk? Rashi stellt sich auf dem Wort Hareisa und sagt, what does the term Hareisa mean? Kitargumai is Chazisa. As the Targum says, that it means, and you were shown. So Ato Hareisa means you Yidden were shown the revelation of the Eibishter, as the Pasuk continues. Und danach is Mamshech, Rashi continues to explain. Kishenasna Kadosh Baruch Hu es HaTorah. When Hashem gave Yidden the Torah, Pasach Lahem Shiva Rekiim. Hashem opened up all seven heavens. Ukishem Shakara Es Ha'alyonim, and just like He tore open all the upper realms, Kach kara es hatachtenim. So too he tore open the lower realms. V'ro shuhu yechidi. And the Yidden then all saw that he is the very only one. Lakach nemar, and that's why the pasuk here says, Ato hareisa ladas. That Hashem was shown to Yidden that they were able to know and see the fact that Hashem is Yechidi, the only one. Those are the words of Rashi. So we need to understand here what Rashi is saying. Was ist die Sheiches von dem Hemshech bepirish Rashi? What's the connection of the continuation of Rashi's words when he writes, Kishanasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chulu, Pasach Chulu, that when Hashem gave the Torah, he opened up all the heavens. So as Chalas Pirushai, to what Rashi says in the beginning, Ketargumai is Chazisa. The translation of the word Hareisa means, as the Targum says, and you were shown. Seems like Rashi is addressing two separate points here. The Aschalas HaPirish is the Genoya uptight from Vart Hareisa. The beginning of Rashi's Pirish is giving you the accurate and exact translation of the word Hareisa. Bist bavizn geworden. It was shown to you. Mashenkin, the zweite Chelek von Pirish Rashi, red wegen dem Klolas HaKosev. In the second part of Rashi is coming to describe generally what it is that the Yidden saw that the pasuk is telling us. As Yidden haben gesehen, ki Havaya hu ha'alekim geimer, they saw the oneness of Hashem, hu Yechidi, because Hashem opened up all levels so the Yidden could see the absolute truth of the oneness of Hashem. So that's a separate, addressing separately the theme of the whole pasuk. From dem Siyum Pirish Rashi, as it's also indicated by the conclusion in the words of Rashi, Lekach nemar ato hareisa ladas. Why does Rashi add those words? The l'chayr is at the Siyum Ibrik, seems to be extra. So we must say, as Rashi is the mid-madgish, Rashi is emphasizing by that, as mit sein Pirish kumt der Masbe sein, nit bloß dem Wort Hareisa, he's not only explaining the translation of the word Hareisa, nor lekach nema ato Hareisa ledas, and dem klolos teichen HaKosev. That in the continuation he's explaining the content of the whole pasuk, what it is that Yidden saw at the time of Matan Torah. Und neu bazoi, hat doch Rashi gedacht zu teilen sein Pirish, und zwei, Dibur HaMaschals. If this is the case, so then there should be two separate Rashis with two separate openings where Rashi is addressing two parts of the pasuk. Frier Dibur HaMaschal und im Wort Hareisa. First, Rashi should quote the word Hareisa und sagen Kitagume is Chazesa, and to explain the Targum is Chazesa and you were shown. Und danach meitig sein Ato Hareisa ledas und mefarish sein Kishanas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chulu Pasach Chulu, and then to bring the pasuk more generally and explain what it is the pasuk is saying, what it is that the Yidden saw by Matan Torah. So why is Rashi putting these 2 points, the translation of the specific word Hareisa and the meaning of the general pasuk, together in one Rashi? So the explanation for this we can say is as follows. In the Friedigen pasuk state, in the pasuk before this one it says, Oy hanisa lekim lovay lekachas legoi gaimer b'masais b'oisais b'moivsim b'muchama b'yad chazaka b'zraya netuya gaimer kachal asher asa lachem Hashem alekechem b'mitzrayim le'ei necha. That Hashem came and took Yidden and He showed them with wonders and miracles and by wars and with His strong hand and outstretched arm. Everything that Hashem did for Yidden when He took them out of Mitzrayim, and the pasuk says le'ei necha. It was there for your eyes to see. Und danach is the Torah mamshich ato hareisa ladas gaimer. And the pasuk right after it says that you were shown to know. And so on. Now, what man the pashtus gelernt, so simply we would explain, on azay lernen takama mefarshim, this is how some of the commentaries explain the pasuk here, as der ato hareisa ladas is a hemshich zum friedigen pasuk. When it says here that there was a revelation for Yidden to see, it's following what it speaks about earlier. Und das bezieht sich zu den Nissen, wenn Fleiß, was der Rebbe hat gemacht bei Mitzrayim le'necha. And it's referring to the wonders and miracles that Hashem performed for Yidden to see with their own eyes. Ubeloshen HaSeforno. The Seforno that explains the pasuk this way says, As kol eile heracha hakel yizbarach. All of this Hashem showed you, ladas, so you should know, kedesh tisbainin v'teida. So you should pay attention and think about this and to know, beli sofik, without a doubt, ki Hashem hu alekim chulu. That Hashem is the only God. So here, as we see, the Seforno says that Ato Hareisa is explaining the result of all the miracles that Yidden saw, that this brought them to this hisbainus and to this understanding to see. And says Rashi Shoylul b'Pirushai, and it's this pshat that Rashi negates in his explanation, Kishanasna Kadosh Baruch Hu es HaTorah pasachulu. that what this pasuk is speaking about is when Hashem gave Yidden the Torah, Hashem opened up all heavens. As Reinion von Ato Hareisa Geimer is nicht bekeshet to the Isis and Maivs and Mashasa Lachem Avaya Alakacha B'Mitzrayim Leinacha Alakechem, that is. B'Mitzrayim Leinacha, we're not talking here about what Yidden saw regarding the miracles and wonders that they saw by Mitzrayim, was steht in Friedingen Pasuk, in the previous Pasuk, und da werden euch nicht gemeint. And furthermore, Rashi is also negating that in our Pasuk, it's also not connected to the Niflois, was in the Pasuk Shalach, to the miracles that it speaks about in the following Pasuk, wo es retzach wegen Matan Torah, where there it is speaking about Matan Torah, and it says, Min HaShamayim Mishmiyacha Goymer, Val Haaretz Haracha Goymer, that Yidden heard from heaven and they saw on earth the great revelation of the Eibishter that it's described in the next pasuk. Nor rather, Ato Hareisa is an Inyan Chadash. This pasuk of Ato Hareisa is a new point. Was kommt erzählen wegen a Bazunder Mu'ure B'Shas Matan Torah, speaking of a different part of the event of what happened by Matan Torah. Pasach lahem shiva rekiyim chulu, as Rashi described that Hashem opened up the seven heavens, as will be explained at length here in the Sikha. That's the main point that Rashi is really coming to address. Now, Rashi begins, though, with the translation of the word Hareisa, because it's this word, the translation of the word Hareisa, that brings us to the conclusion that this pasuk is separate from the pasuk before and after. Und der Hechrich im Pshuta schon Mikra zu lernen, als Ato Hareisa bezieht sich nicht zu dem, was da steht früher, und nicht zu dem, was da steht später. What forces us in the simple understanding of the pasuk that this pasuk Ato Hareisa is not connected to the pasuk before or after, not an inyan b'fnei atzma, but rather a point for itself, is from the Loshen Hareisa. Kidl, it's the word Hareisa that tells us this. Why is that? Vibalt der pasuk nutzt dem Loshen Ato Hareisa. Du am Yisrael bis bewiesen geworden. If the pasuk here uses this term of Ata, that you Yidden have been shown. Und nicht Ata Reisa, du hast gesehen. And it does not say that you, since we're speaking about Yidden, so then it would seemingly be more appropriate to say that it's you Yidden that saw. Das heißt, so what it means is, as is Mudgish, what's being emphasized here is, as es ist gewähnt, a Po'olo von a Zweiten zu beweisen, that there's something being done by another force, from another source, to show this to Yidden. Is l'chayr nit glatik. So this is not understood. Favas is Mudgish, Ato, der Mekabel Apole, und nit der Eisa Apole. If the pasuk is saying Har Eisa, that you were shown from another source, so then why is the pasuk referring to Yidden Ata, speaking about the one that is seeing this? Why not speak about the one that shows this? Es hat gedacht stehen, der Eibishter hat dir bewiesen. The pasuk should use a term that's saying that Hashem has shown you, has revealed to you. Now, here the pasuk begins with Ata, speaking about Yidden that are experiencing this vision, and it immediately uses the term Har Eisa, which refers back to the Eibishter that is showing this to them. Und wie steht früher, in the pasuk before it says, Asha asa lechem avaya, that Hashem has done for you these miracles. Und euch später, hishmiyacha es Chelek geimer, heracha es isha geimer, Hashem let you hear his voice and showed you his fire. Also part of what happened at Matan Torah. But here though, the pasuk says Ata, referring to Yidden, and then it immediately uses the term Har Eisa, that Yidden are being shown by Hashem. Why is that? The fun is Rashi Machriach. It's from this that Rashi is forced to explain, as in dem pasuk retzich wegen an ander beweisen. That in this pasuk it's speaking about another kind of showing, another kind of revelation. Wie es ist mudgish, as es ist gewähnt a pulle von weisen, as it's emphasized here that on one hand there is a source, the Eibishter is showing, und zusammen damit is das nicht gewähnt bederach von a pulle mamish. But at the same time though, it's not something that you can say that it's him that's doing it's something to show, like it is in the pasuk before and after. Viheracha, he's showing. Nor ba'ifin as der chiddush is be'iker mitzad Ata, der mekabel apula. The pasuk is focusing on the Ata, that the main point here is the one that's experiencing this vision, the one that's seeing. And what's the reason for this? Der Beweiser hat nicht mevatel gewen a Sach. Sorry, let me read that again. Der Beweiser hat nor mevatel gewen a Sach. The one that is showing you All he did was, in this case, the Eibishter, all the Eibishter did is he nullified something that was blocking the Pa'ula Bashteit in Bittul Aminiyah. What Hashem is doing is just removing a block in order for us to then be able to experience. So therefore, on one hand, the pasuk says Ata, that this revelation is being done by Hashem removing something, but then it immediately says Har Esa, that once you remove that blockage, then it's the recipient that experiences and just sees. It's open to him. It's not seeing an actual revelation that Hashem is doing and revealing something specific. Rather, it's removing the blockage, which just allows you to see what's there right in front of you. So therefore, Rashi explains that we're not talking about what happened before, about the miracles, that Hashem is doing something specific to show you, or the voice of Hashem, the fire of Hashem, that is something specific that Hashem is creating for you to see. Rather, Rashi says, and the Rebbe learned Rashi, as da redt sich nit wegen die Nissen von the Flies, was der Rebbe schon bewiesen Yidden. We're not talking in this pasuk about the wonders and miracles that Hashem showed Yidden. Das ist bederach pulike pshuta. Oiv getan azach. That's an action that Hashem does and creates a situation of a wonder and a miracle that Yidden could look at and see what Hashem is showing them. Rather here, the pasuk is speaking of the fact that Hashem just opened up and removed the cover of the seven heavens that allowed Yidden to see. Der Eibishter hat nit getan a pulle von beweisen sich zu Yidden. Hashem did not do an action to reveal himself, to show himself to Yidden. Hat not herabgenommen dem Verstell von die Shiverikiyim. Rather, he removed the cover of the seven heavens. Und bederach memele ro'ashu yichidi. When that was removed, Yidden were able to see on their own. Ata, Yidden are able to see that Hashem is the only one. So it's this word hareisa that brings us to this conclusion that this pasuk is talking about something totally different, and we now understand the connection of the two parts of the Rashi. Based on this, it comes out as es is farana chilek ikri in dem Pirish von Ata Hareisa zwischen dem Pirish HaMefarshim Anal and Pirish Rashi. There's a fundamental difference between Rashi's understanding and the other commentaries' understanding in the words of Ata Hareisa. If you learn like the other commentaries, that Ata Hareisa refers to what it says in the previous pasuk, the miracles when Yidden came out of Mitzrayim. Kumtais as Yidden sind bewiesen geworden die Nissen und nicht as Hareisa as Avayahu Lekim Geimer. What was shown to Yidden are the miracles. Not that they saw the oneness of Hashem. They saw miracles. Now von die Nissen haben Yidden verstanden und gewusst, Lodas as Avayahu Lekim. When they saw these miracles, so then this brought them to think about this and to pay attention to the miracles, and then it brought them to the knowledge to know that of what Hashem could do and who Hashem is. That you have to pay attention and think about the miracles that you see, and then you can, from that, you come to the understanding that Havayahu Lekim. Rashi's Pirish is zu Yidden bewiesen geworden, das Gufe as Havayahu Lekim. What is it that Yidden saw? No miracles, nothing else that Hashem is doing for them to bring them to any level of understanding. Rather, that Hashem removed all covers and opened up for Yidden to see this itself, that Hashem is the only one. The Balash and Rashi, Ra'u Shahu Yichidi. They saw this itself, that Hashem is the very only existence. On the far is Rashi Messiah. This explains why Rashi concludes, Lakach Nemar Ata Hareisa Ladas. This is what the pasuk means when it says Ata Hareisa Ladas. The mit is Rashi Eisen. With this, Rashi's point here is nit bloß zum Madgezain, not only to emphasize as Lakach of Demora Nemar Ata Hareisa Ladas, that Rashi is telling you it's about this that the pasuk is saying that Yidden saw and know and now know, had the idea, the das. Und nit auf die Nissen, welche während erzählt the pasuk shalifnei zeh. And it's not referring to the miracles in the previous pasuk. So that's simply what Rashi is coming to clarify. Not oich zu madgish sein, but Rashi is also coming to emphasize as leitem pirish beit sich dem pirish oich von hareisa ladas. This changes the understanding, the simple meaning of the words hareisa ladas. As does nit zwei besondere inyanim. It's not two separate points here. Hareisa dinissim, that you have seen what? Just the miracles. Und durch dem wirst du kommen, lodas ki Havayahu Lekim. And then from that, you will come to a second point to think about what you're seeing, and then come to the realization of Havayahu Lekim. Nor, das ist ein Sach. It's all one point. Der Ladas, ki havaya hu holikim, is an anayfim von Haresa. Rosh shu yichidi. This is exactly what Yidden saw. Hashem removed all covers and allowed them to see this itself, the oneness of Hashem. That's Rashi's pshat here in the pasuk. Noch hatam for was Rashi will nicht lernen as ata reisa batzitzich zu die nissen b'Mitzrayim. Another reason why Rashi does not want to explain that this pasuk ata reisa is connected to the miracles that Yidden saw when they left Mitzrayim, that it speaks about in the pasuk right before, or to the voice or the fire of Hashem that it speaks about in the next pasuk, is Rashi mirames b'l'shoynoi v'roshu yichidi. Rashi hints this in the expression that he uses when he says that Yidden saw that Hashem is the very only one. Was is der Abteich von ein oid milvade. Rashi is using that term because that's the translation of what the pasuk says, ein oid milvade. There's nothing other than Hashem. This is something that is revealed only here and not by the Nisim by Yetzias Mitzrayim. Die Nisim sheb Mitzrayim ham bavizin as ani avaya. The miracles that happened in Mitzrayim, they demonstrated that Hashem is the God. Und nit kein andere chas v'shalom havaya hu olakim. And there's no other, God forbid, havaya olakim. Und wie steht, kam a pame benigeh the Mitzrayim v'yodu Mitzrayim ki ani havaya v'chayetze b'zeh. As it says in the pasuk more than once at the Makkis and so on, that the Mitzrayim now had the knowledge, they knew that ani havaya, that Hashem is the one that is performing these miracles. Aber however, von deswegen is von zeh doch in hechrech as einheit milvade. But seeing these miracles, it does not bring you to the level of understanding that Hashem is the very only existence. Weil es kann sein, as der Eibishter ist takke grösser und starker von allem, that Hashem is greater and mightier than any other force of nature and anything else that exists. Und der Fahr kann keinen nicht abhalten und kein Sach kann chas v'sholom nicht sterren. So therefore nobody could stop him and nobody could disturb him. In the Nisim, in the miracles that Hashem performs in order to take out the Yidden from Mitzrayim, take out a nation from a nation, so selber von dem nicht da kein Hechrech, as es nicht da kein ander Metzias chas v'shalom mit hakayach v'yecheles. However, the performance of these miracles and the Mitzrayim seeing these miracles does not necessarily bring them to the conclusion that there is no other entity, God forbid, and no other power or force in the world. Another power in the world that's smaller than Hashem's power, and therefore Hashem could overpower them and is greater and nobody could stop him, but it doesn't take away that idea that maybe there is another power in nature, God forbid, other than Hashem. Specifically at the time when Hashem gives Yidden the Torah. When Hashem opens up all seven heavens. And here Yidden see that Hashem is the very only one. Nicht nur, as es nicht da kein Metzias Koyach, was kann sich gleichen zu ihm, chas v'shalom. Again, nicht nur, as es nicht da kein Metzias Koyach, was kann sich gleichen zu ihm, chas v'shalom. Not only is there no other kind of existence, any other power that can compare itself to Hashem, God forbid, no, es ist überhaupt nicht da kein shum ander Metzias achutz im. There is absolutely no other existence other than him. Ro Shuhu Yichidi, the Yidden saw that Hashem is the very only existence. Siznita Kain Ander Ba'alyonim B'tachtainim. There is nothing else, not in the higher spiritual worlds, not in the lower worlds, in our physical world. Ein Oid Milvade. There's nothing other than Hashem. And that's something that Yidden saw specifically by Matan Torah, and that's why Rashi says it's not a continuation of the pasuk before. Now, the explanation of this level of Einoid Milvade in the simple and literal sense, and the way it's explained in Chassidus, that Einoid Milvade doesn't only mean that there is no other level of a God or power or force in nature, but Einoid Milvade literally, that there is no other existence, is explained in Chassidus Barichis, and we'll have some of the explanation in a very deep way coming here in the Sikha. Man darf aber verstehen dem Shinui Loshen and Pirish Rashi. What we need to understand still here is the difference in the language of Rashi. Fangt an mit Pasach lahem shiva rekiyim. Rashi begins with the expression that Hashem opened for them seven heavens. Und es gleich danach mamshach, but then immediately Rashi continues, Kishem shekara esal yenim, just like Hashem tore open the higher realms, kach kara esatachtainim. So too he tears open the lower realms. Why is Rashi switching the expression from Pasach to Kara? Now, you would be able to say that regarding the higher spiritual worlds or the seven heavens, past the Lashon Pasach. Here, the right term to be used is open up. Al derech, like the expression that it says in the Pasuk, Niftuchu hashamayim ve'erem aretz elikim. Heaven opened up and I saw the visions of God. Abinit zu tachtainim. The term of opening up and seeing the vision of Hashem is not applied to when we speak about the lower worlds. Aber, the question though is, wie gesagt, fangt Rashi an mit Pasach lem shivirikim. As quoted, Rashi begins with opening up the seven heavens. Und his mamshech, and then Rashi continues, even regarding the higher spiritual worlds, just as he tore open the higher worlds. If the reason Rashi changes the term is because Pasach is the right term to be used for the higher worlds, and Tachtainim, the term is to tear open. So Rashi should again use the term of Pasach regarding the Al-Yainim and then the term of Kara only regarding Tachtainim. From dem Shinei Aloshen and Rashi, B'nigeya to Al-Yainim Gufe, the fact that Rashi changes the expression regarding the higher spiritual worlds, beginning with Pasach and then the term Kara, is mashma, it seems, as in El Yainim and a Geven Tzvei Pulis. Regarding the godly revelation in the spiritual worlds, there are two different things happening. Sai Pasach and Sai Kara. Hashem is opening up and also tearing open. Mashenken and Tachtainim is Geven Blois Ein Pula. But regarding the lower worlds, here there's only one thing that's happening, and that is Hashem is tearing open. Not in them, Zetman, dem Yenish, Alteire, and Pirish Rashi could come on. In order to explain the difference of these expressions, it's only possible to understand this by saying that Rashi here is using these terms, expressing the secrets of Teire, the wine of Teire, that Rashi is saying in the levels of godly revelation in the higher worlds and in the lower worlds. So what's the explanation? The Lashon Pasach, the term of opening up, what geöffnet a gewisse Sach, to open up something specific, is an initial tikkun. What this means is that you're fixing something, hoisafas shleimus, or adding a certain level of completeness, or chiddush shleimus, to add something new that will complete something. That's the term of Pasach. On the other hand, al bekara, the term to tear open, as man darf zerreißen, that you have to tear something, meint aniyu from bittel dova. That expression means that you're breaking or nullifying something. When you tear a garment, it nullifies, it's not a garment anymore, or it's not a proper garment. Or kriyas yamsuf, the term that's used when Hashem split the sea, that Hashem tears open the sea, which means is mevatel inyan ayam l'chases. It nullifies the nature of the water, which flows and it covers. Va'avu and the kulo, and the source of all the expression of the term kara, kriyas, Halashon haragel b'kama mekayim is the expression that's used in many places, kriyas gzardin, to tear a bad decree. So there it's about breaking and nullifying a bad decree. So here as well, the term kara means to break and nullify. Now before we apply this back to the way this is regarding godly revelation, the Rabbi first explains how this is regarding the Avodah V'Yid. The chiluk zwischen die zwei inyanim in Avodas Adam. To explain the difference between these two terms, to open up or to tear, as it applies to a person serving Hashem. In Avodas Adam ba'ilams and in Faram b'chlolos tzvei efanim. Serving Hashem here in this world, generally there are two different approaches. Ein oifin v'sfadert the Avodah from Pasach. One level in Avodah is where it demands of a person to open up to see the truth in something. Und a zweite Eifen, was fordert die Avodah von Kara. But then there's another aspect of a Yid's Avodah that demands of one to tear and to break. Das ist the chiluk zwischen Avodas habirurim and Avodas hanisyonos. This is the difference between the Avodah of refining and elevating the world, and when a person is confronted by a challenge, by a test. And here there's different approaches how a person deals with this. The Avodah in Klolos and Yani Aylam is Avodas habirurim. Our general approach to the way we do things in the world, our involvement in the world, and things that on a daily basis, what a person needs and uses and eats and so on, is the Avodah of refining and using it for its proper sake. The fact that a person is involved in physical things in the world, and it's a saskus, he has to be fully involved there. See, here we have to make an opening, to open up, to see and to reveal what is their purpose. As nivru l'shamish is kainam, they're created to serve their master. And also to reveal the godly spark which is in them, which is the true existence of everything that there is in the world. That's the general approach in a person's Aveda. When a person eats and drinks and whatever else he does in his life, it's not about breaking or walking away from the physical involvement. On the contrary, it's about eating and drinking and doing everything else and revealing its true existence, that it's here to help a person serve Hashem, to be healthy and to do what he has to serve Hashem. However, then from time to time there is when Hashem comes and tests a yid, as es kommt an ihn shel nisayin. There's a circumstance where a person is being tested. Was in Yonah is master sein und meilim sein filikus. This is a situation where it's completely covering over the true purpose of what a person is doing here in the world. It totally covers over godliness. Und der chayes elikib shebenisayin, the godly energy that's here in this as well. Even a situation which seems to be totally dark and completely fighting against Hashem, but it only exists because Hashem is creating it. But the godly energy that's in it is nafal lamata b'yoser. It fell to such a low level, biz and is behelam v'estel agamri. It's totally concealed, and it's impossible to say, let's get involved in this situation and find the positive to utilize it for Hashem's sake. No, it's just something negative that's blocking and is darkness. In order to reveal the purpose and the godly spark that's here in this kind of situation, is nit genug the avodah from Pasach. It will not be sufficient for trying to get involved and utilize it for a positive sake and to open up to see the truth here. Nor as dav zayin kara. You actually have to stand strong and be ready to fight, to just ignore and break this blockage that's here. Zu reißen und mevatel sein dem hellen Wester. To tear and to nullify this concealment that's here. That's the main Aveda of Nisyanis, because here the godly energy is so low and so far and so deeply concealed that the only way to reveal the truth here is by to break that blockage. It's not allowing that godly spark to come out. The Chelek by Aveda, the difference in these two aspects or these two approaches in serving Hashem in this world is nitna legavidem davisha bailam chefza. It's not only in relation to the object or the situation in the world that the person is dealing with, as explained, to what degree the godly energy is concealed there. But also and primarily regarding the approach of the person in the way he serves Hashem. Avodas Adam ba'avodas habirurim is ba'ifim from Pasach. Serving Hashem in the Aveda of refining and elevating the world, it's an approach that demands of a person, even within himself, to open himself up. At effen seine keiches, one opens up his own abilities that he has, whether meichin or umidis, person's intellect or his emotions. Anoimdik von the isbeinus v'chulu. How does a person have the ability to go into the world and have the proper approach in everything that's happening in the world? It begins before. It starts with a person setting his mind right with the proper contemplation. Bitfila, which begins when he davens in the beginning of the day. Paspailt and bitter in the nefesh ba'amis, and then that effect of the isbainos, and then also the emotions of the person, that refines and elevates the nefesh ba'amis as well. And then it's possible to go out in the world and to elevate the portion of the world that the person is involved in. In all matters of the world, when he's involved in everything, doing it just for the sake of heaven, whether it's eating or any other needs of the person during the day. That's the approach in the Aveda of Pasach. So even regarding the person himself, it demands of a person to utilize all of his faculties to connect to Hashem. In Aveda Sanisyanis, the Aveda that it demands of a person himself when it comes to a test, a challenge, where there's a big blockage in something, is kara. Here, what it demands of a person is to just tear, to break, which means here a person has to be ready to stand strong and firm, even when it's going to be against his nature, against his habit. To express that power of self-sacrifice without any limitations. Is, and when a person serves Hashem, with this approach, to just be strong and to ignore anything that's stopping you and to just go forward with Mesiras Nefesh. So this is expressed in the words of Rashi, Keshem shekara esal yoinim kach kara satachtonim. And the way that applies to the person himself, it means, Punkt wie rechnet sich nicht und is mevatel, die alamis va'agbalas und meschen von seine keiches al yoinim. Just as it demands of a person, when there's a big test in front of him, to not pay attention and to totally ignore any of the things that are covering over the truth that are a result of the deeper powers within the person. The tainug, whether the pleasure of the person, the ratzon, the willpower, seichel, the intellect, the midas, the emotions, all of that is being threatened by this big nisayon that a person is confronted by. Azay is eich mevatel di meschim from the keiches atachtonim shabai. The agbalas haguf and nefesh habahamis. So too, one has to be strong and firm and not allow his body or the nefesh habahamis to get the best of him, that he should fall for this test, for this challenge. So here, it's not about a organized Aveda as described before. There's the davening with the higher keiches, and then you apply it to your nefesh habahamis, and then you come down to the mitzias of the world. Over here, it's all one point. It's one nekuda of Mesiras Nefesh, which demands of a person not to pay attention to the way he would think usually, not to pay attention to his usual emotions, the way he would react emotionally, not to pay attention to anything else that's physically stopping him, but just to know that this is simply a test, that he has to stand firm to forge ahead. That's the kind of Aveda of Kara, both Al Yoinim and Tachtonim. And when a person is standing strong and withstands the test, so then, the Rebbe here quotes a lashon that the Alter Rebbe says in Likutei Torah, "Umizgaber neged kol mineya." He's strong against anything that's trying to stop him. Azai koireya kol hameschim hamastirim umalimim oir v'chayis Hashem. Then you're able to tear and break all those covers and whatever it is that's concealing over the godly light. Oir v'chayis Hashem, v'nimtza sheyetze oir v'chayis Hashem in ahelam alagili. And then the light and the energy of Hashem that's here will automatically be revealed. So here, as we see, the Alter Rebbe uses this term of kaireya, to tear, when he talks about this kind of Aveda of standing strong against nisyonis. Those are the two terms that Rashi uses here, pasach and kara, as it relates to the Aveda Vayid in serving Hashem in two different levels of being involved in the world, whether it's Avedas HaBirurim, the usual things that a person does daily, or the Aveda of Nisyonis, when you're confronted by something unique, by a test, when you just have to stand strong. So now, applying this back to godly revelation in different realms of existence. Al derech, die zwei Erfahrungen Aveda, just like we explained, these two aspects, and the Yid's Aveda is bechlolus the chiluk via lekus vertnis gale durch al yoinim oder durch tachtonim. Generally, this is the difference between godly revelation as it's revealed in the higher spiritual worlds and as it's revealed in the lower worlds. The higher spiritual worlds, they reveal godliness because of what they are. That you have to open up to see. Meaning, pasach, as explained before, that means you don't have to negate or abolish or get rid of something. On the contrary, it's opening up to see the truth that's present here in this existence. That's the nature of the higher spiritual worlds. And this is true even in our world, physically, the heavens. The pasuk says, that the heavens tell us a story about the glory of Hashem and about what Hashem did to create them. As the Shamayim Gufe, the Tzeilen, und seinen Megale, Kveit Keil, that the heavens, they tell us and reveal the glory of Hashem. The Rekia, the heavens or the firmament, is Magid, the Maisi Yod of Shalak Kadosh Baruch Hu, tells us about the fact that Hashem created them. And you look up and you see the sun and the moon and the stars, and as Chassidus explains, the fact that they exist with their same strength as the way they were created. So that shows us the greatness of Hashem that created them. So they tell us, they reveal. You open up, you see how they tell the story of the greatness of Hashem. The same is true regarding all levels of spiritual worlds. The mitzias from Yed Olam, the existence of every one of these spiritual worlds on Yed B'china, on every level, is megale nochan inyan in alakus, reveals another aspect of the existence of Hashem. Was das alt is nichlal in dem inyan ha'or. All of this is generally included in the idea of godly light, revelation. Kishem v'de mitzias ha'or gufe is megale inyan amor. What does the term light mean? That the light is all about revealing the source of where it comes from, the source of this light. Al derech zeh is in Eilemis Usfiris Lamaila. The same is true about all levels of worlds and the levels of the spheres, the godly revelations that there are in all these worlds. Is Mitziyusam Gufe Megala Elikus. Their existence is of such nature that it reveals and expresses the source of what they're revealing. Like light, that you see light, you don't just see light. When you see light, you immediately really see the nature of the light and the source of where it comes from. It's so same is true regarding the definition of all spiritual worlds. Which is not the case with Tachtainim, with our physical world. With lower worlds, and specifically, we're speaking here of the existence of our physical world, the yesh, just the tangible physical world. Is nit nar, was das is nit megala elikus. Not only is it that when you look at the physical existence, that it doesn't reveal godliness, not adarab, on the contrary. In yonna funda mitzias hayesh is, the whole point, when you just see and observe the existence of the yesh, what do you see? Is vazay makke vetenim nit nirgash. The definition of the yesh is the fact that you do not see in it that it's connected to something higher, that it can be traced back to something that's above it, a source of it, that it's revealing something else. The term yesh means that I am it, I exist. That's the nature of the yesh. Biz meant as to the point that you can make the mistake and think that it is and it exists on its own, God forbid. On that is nit alul meize ila shekadmalai, and it's not caused and it's not brought into being by anything, any source that's before it. Kumtais, so it comes out as follows: as mitzias from tachtainim, mitzias hayesh, the existence of the world here below, the existence of the yesh in this world. Zokt, what does he tell us? What is the story he says? As eres faran, that he is it. It doesn't reveal any source of a creator that created it. Adarab, all it says is that I am it. Falpi. Now, even though you can argue and say, as the mitzias hayesh is machriach as is da beire, the existence of the yesh does force us to the conclusion, it does bring us to understand that there must have been a creator that creates this. Or not been in the past tense, as Chassidus explains, a creator that creates this. Was is mechoyev ha-mitzias. And he is an existence that is not created, but rather he is the true existence that is, then there must be, that's not created. And as the Alter Rebbe describes this in Tanya, Shemitziyusei hu me'atzmusei, he is from himself. Ve'ena alul me'ezi ila shekadmalei chas v'shalom, and he's not brought into being by any other source, God forbid. U'lechein hu levadoi, and therefore it's only Hashem himself that bekoichai v'yecholtoi livra yesh ma'ayin ve'efes hamuchlet mamish, to create the yesh that exists in the world, from ayin and efes, complete ayin and efes, beli shum ila v'siba cheres, kedemes leyesh hazeh, k'mavor b'geres HaKadosh. The fact that we see that there's such a type of existence, that exists as a yesh, that there's no source that you can connect it back to where it comes from, forces us to say that there must be a true existence, a mechoyev ha-mitzias, that is of such nature that he is it, and there's nothing that you can trace it back that's a source to him. The Eibush is the real existence, and therefore he creates this kind of yesh. That's what the yesh itself forces you to say. So if that's the case, even seemingly the yesh of the world also sort of tells us the story about where it comes from. But the truth is doch das an inyan was kommt b'derech limud v'hechrech von seichel adam. This is something that one has to learn and explain, that with seichel, with intellect, a person can come and observe and understand this. Nit as the mitzias hayesh is this megala, but it's not that the very existence itself is saying this, is expressing this. Adarabah, on the contrary, kokindik of mitzias hayesh, zet ben ha-mitzias b'fnei atzmai. What is the nature of the very existence itself? The existence itself says that I am it, that I am here, and I have no source. You don't see that it's expressing anything. There's no content or teichen or inyan or godliness that it's expressing. It's just a simple physical existence that says that I am it. That's the mitzias of Tachtainim. On the far, so therefore now coming back to the two expressions Rashi says, kara or pasach, to open up or to tear open, is there gilui in Tachtainim, in order to reveal godliness, even here in the physical yesh of the world, kommt durch shvira. The only way it's possible is shvira ubitl von zeh mitzias kara. It's by breaking and nullifying its existence of the yesh, by tearing it, by tearing away, by blowing away its cover, by taking away that falsehood of the mitzias of the yesh. That is the way to reveal the truth of what the world is, that it's created by Hashem. Und der Rebbe sagt Rashi dem Loshem Pasach nor beneged al Yonim Zayin Akim. So therefore Rashi only uses the term of opening up regarding the higher worlds, the spiritual worlds, the Zayin Akim, und nicht beneged the Tachtainim, not regarding the lower worlds. Weil der Rein von Tachtainim is doch be'inyan, heste euri is barach, when it comes to the lower physical worlds. So to use a quote from the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, that regarding the concealment of the godly revelation, v'choshech kafel u'mechupel, it's a complete and double darkness. Even more so, that it's full with klippe and sitrachre that are fighting, that are opposing Hashem. And they say that I'm it, and I'm the only existence. That's what defines their very existence. So over here, to reveal Hashem in this is not by opening up and revealing something positive about that the Yesh says. There's nothing positive about that. On the contrary, the Yesh is saying that I'm it. To reveal and to open up the goodness and the holiness that's there concealed there. No, rather, but rather it's by breaking and nullifying their existence, their chshivas, that they're here and they say that I'm it, and only when you break that, that's how you reveal the truth of the Eibishter. Meaning, so over here, to reveal Hashem in our physical world is b'derech chiddush mamish. It's a complete chiddush that even in such a place, which is totally not expressing Him, which is totally just saying that I'm it, even here, this is also Hashem. But the way to reveal that is not that it's a level, certain level, or some revelation, or some expression of Hashem, but it's in a place where He's totally not expressed, and nevertheless, there's a chiddush that you can break what it is and reveal the truth of what Hashem is in this existence, in this world. That is the term of kara. That explains the terms of kara regarding tachtainim and the term of pasach, to open up and to reveal the higher spiritual worlds, that their entire existence is a certain level of revelation and expression of Hashem. However, Rashi does use the term of kara even regarding al yonim. That was the main question here. Afal pikein, sagt Rashi, beniged al yonim, nit nor the loshen pasach, nor oich dem loshen kara. Rashi uses the term of pasach, that Hashem opened up they opened up the spiritual worlds for us to see His truth there. But Rashi also uses the term of kara, that Hashem tore open and broke open for us to be able to see His greatness in the highest spiritual worlds. And why is that? According to what we explained, the existence of the spiritual worlds are of such nature that they actually express Hashem. While the reason is legabe der Galus Aleki was given kishenosna Kadosh Baruch Hu es the Torah, the God of the revelation that there was when Hashem gave Yidden the Torah had gedarft sein der kara nit nor von tachtainim nor euch von al yonim. Here it's necessary to nullify and to tear open, not only in the lower worlds as was explained before, nor euch von al yonim, even regarding the higher spiritual worlds. How is that, and why? What's the reason for this? So here comes a lengthy explanation to explain a much deeper understanding in the revelation of the oneness of Hashem that was revealed at the time of Matan Torah. The explanation for this is, as is Yedua, the Pirish von Alten Rebbe, of Ato Hareisa Ladas. The explanation of the Alter Rebbe regarding this pasuk of Ato Hareisa Ladas is known. And the Alter Rebbe said, Ato, du atzmus ein soif baruch Hu, that you, Hashem, the essence of Hashem Himself, Hareisa hast sich bavisen, Ladas mzol dir wissen. That you showed yourself, you revealed yourself, that you should be known, Ladas, you should be known. This is not the simple pshat of the pasuk. Atta, as we learned before, refers to Yidden, and Haresa means that you, Yidden, were shown by Hashem. But the Alter Rebbe says, Atta, the term Atta is no name of Hashem, but it refers to Hashem Himself, Atzmas Ein Sof Baruch Hu, that showed Himself, or revealed Himself. Now we can say, as das was Rashi is medayik, Ro Shehu Yechidi. Rashi uses this term and is very specific by choosing the word Yechidi, that Hashem revealed the fact that He is the very only one, as is demit merames oifen pirish anal von Alten Rebbe. Rashi here is hinting to the pshat of the Alter Rebbe. Weil, get that, bechinas yachid, because the true meaning and the level or the concept of Yachid, of the very only one, and that's a term that's completely higher than the term of Echad. Was es ken sein as yesh sheni loi. The term of Echad is used sometimes when there is a second that follows, sometimes not, but Echad could be used like in creation, Yom Echad and then Yom Sheni. So Echad does not mean that there is no second. Definitely the term Yachid is a term that's much greater than the level of Rishon. Rishon is only used when there is a second that follows. So to use the term Yachid in the true and ultimate sense that he is the actually very only existence is verbunden mit Atzmus ein Sof Baruch Hu. This is a term that's connected to the essence of Hashem that the Alter Rebbe speaks about when he says Atta is du Atzmus ein Sof Baruch Hu. Was das ist euch der Bier in die Prate Manal benigeya dem Eufen Hosgalas. This also explains details that we see here in the language of the Pasuk regarding the way of how this revelation happens. Aleph, one point we see here is es kommt der Eufen von Har Esa, that you Hashem were shown. As pointed out before, it doesn't say in the Pasuk that Hashem revealed. Hashem did an act to reveal something. Rather, Ata Har Esa, you were shown. As if saying that it just happens on its own. What does that mean? When we speak of the Eibishter himself, pasnit the geder from pula. The term of saying that there's an action that Hashem is doing is not appropriate. It's not to be used here. When it comes to Hashem himself, a pula is not appropriate because the idea of a pula is when there is an entity that is the way he is for himself. And then a pa'ula means that he's getting involved in something specific and going away from who he is and doing something else. That's the idea of a pa'ula. But when it comes to the Eibishter himself, gilui atzmus is b'derech memela. When it comes to Hashem himself, he is who he is. And whatever it is that he's doing is happening based on who he is, not because he's relating to something else by an action that he's doing. So therefore the term of har esa, that it's just it happens b'derech memela, meaning that it happens because of who he is, that's to be used only when we speak of the Eibishter himself. And Beis, another thing we see here is der ladas is der anayfu fun horeisa ria chushis. It does use the term to know, but then it Pasuk says, to what degree and how do you know? You know by seeing, ria chushis, to literally, physically, and tangibly see. Varam der oifen agili fun atzmus is in re'iyah dafke. The way Hashem is revealed is by the fact that he's to see. Not by grasping or understanding. Any other level of godly revelation, which is not complete and full, is by a certain level of understanding, even the greatest level of understanding. But when it comes to the essence of Hashem himself, which is full and complete, there it's riyah, to see, when it's totally open. So you see here in the details that the Pasuk says that it's speaking of Atzmus Ein Sof Baruch Hu, as the Alter Rebbe says. And also in the words of Rashi, Yechidi, Hashem himself. Und wie bald, as Matan Teire is given as Galas Atzmus. So since by Matan Teire there's the revelation of the very essence of Hashem himself, so that, therefore, what happens is, Kishem Shekoras Al Yoinim Kach Koras Atachtainim. This idea, to have to tear open, meaning that to break the existence of the higher worlds as much as it's true that you have to break the existence of the lower worlds. As will be explained, that as much as it was explained before, that the existence of the Yesh is in no way a keli or an expressing anything about Hashem. And therefore you have to break in order to see the truth of the Eibishter in there. It's a total chiddush. The same is also true when we speak about the very essence of Hashem himself, about the spiritual worlds as well. The explanation for this, we need to have a deeper understanding of what we're talking about when we say that there's a revelation of Atzmus Mamish that Rashi is speaking about in this pasuk. The Rambam in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah. So let's see how the Rambam first explains this pasuk of Einod Mulvadai. So in the Rambam in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah bringt the Siyama pasuk von Ata Reisa Ladas Gaimer. The Rambam brings the conclusion of the pasuk where it says Einod Mulvadai behemshich zu die halachas vared wegen der mitzvah sayidiyah in Mitzias Akel. When the Rambam speaks about the mitzvah to know the existence of Hashem, and there the Rambam says, V'zel Hashoinai, this is the words of the Rambam. Hu shahanavi yaimer. This is what the prophet tells us. V'Hashem elikim emes. Hashem is the truth. Hu levadaya emes. He is alone the truth. Ve'ein la'acher emes kamitosei. and there is no other truth like his existence that's true. And this is also what it says in the Torah, Ein oid milvadai, there's nothing other than him. And what does that mean? Koloimar. So the Rambam explains, Ein sham motzui emes milvadai kamaisai. There is no other true existence besides him that's like him. That's the way the Rambam explains the Ein oid milvadai. Was der Pirish in Ein oid milvadai? So this explanation that the Rambam says is an ander teichon legamri vile Pirish Rashi b'pnimi yisanyanim. It's completely different than the way Rashi explains it, as we understand Rashi on a deeper level when Rashi says the words Ro Shuhu Yechidi. Like in the Rambam is the Pirish von Ein Oid Milvadai. The Rambam's explanation of the term Ein Oid Milvadai is as is da kaviyachol ametzias milvadai, that there is, so to speak, another existence other than Hashem. Nor, however, Ein Sham Motzi Emes Milvadai Kamaisai. There is no other existence that's a true existence like the existence of Hashem. Uns ist verstandig der Herrach zum Pirischer Rambam wie im Bevor bekamen wir Kaimis, and it's understood what forces the Rambam to explain the pasuk this way, as explained in many places. Oid mezol lernen, if we were to say, this is mashma l'chayre from Pashtus Lashon HaKosev, as it would seem from the simple language of the pasuk, Ein oid mulvadai, as ein shum matzui mulvadai, that there is really no other existence other than Hashem. Kumtais, as is bechlal netakim mitzias olam. So then that would mean that there really is no existence to the world. And das kemen it sagen, and that can't be said. Varim demolt is doch netakim mitzias. So then what it means is that there is no existence. And definitely no importance in fulfilling any mitzvahs. Was in Yonan is, the point of every mitzvah is, as menemt adovar sheba olam, you take an object in the world, is the mitmekayim a mitzvah, and you fulfill a mitzvah with it, mamshich inim kedusha, and you bring holiness into this area of the world where the mitzvah is being done. But if there is no existence, if Hashem is the very only existence and everything else is totally nullified, so then there is no point, there is no union of a mitzvah. The Rebbe zog the Rambam, so therefore the Rambam says, Kolaima, that you should explain the pasuk as follows: as the Pirish in Ein Oid Milvadai is nit, as is nitah kemitzias klal Milvadai. The meaning of Ein Oid Milvadai is not that there is no existence other than Hashem Himself, nor Ein Sham Motzei Emes Milvadai Kemaisei. There is no other true existence besides Him that's like Him. That says the Welt is a mitzias. The world that Hashem creates is an existence. Aber nit ke mitzias amitis. But it's not a true existence, vafila nit kamaisei, and not on any level that could be compared to him. That's the explanation of the Rambam in the level, in the meaning of the pasuk of Ein Oid Milvadai. Loitem pirish, loitem pnimiyis pirish. In Rashi, however, according to the real and deeper understanding of what Rashi is saying, V'ro shuhu yichidi, and the Yidden by Matan Torah saw that Hashem is the very only existence. Kumtais, the pirish in Ein Oid Milvadai, so comes out. What is the meaning of the words Ein Oid Milvadai? As nit nor is the Welt nit ke mitzias amitis, that not only is the world not a real existence, nor hu yizbarach is there ein und einzige mitzias bechlal, that Hashem is the very only existence. Says nita kein an the mitzias achutzim. And there actually is no other existence other than Hashem Himself. That's what Rosh Hu Yechidi is expressing. Now seemingly, wie stimmt der Pirish damit, was der Inyan von Teire und Mitzvahs ist verbunden mit Metzias Olam Kanal? How does this go along with the fact, as explained before, that the existence of the world is a place that must be in existence for us to say that there's a point in Torah and in mitzvahs to fulfill a mitzvah in the items and the things in the world? So the explanation for this is, it depends what level you're speaking about. Der Inyan von hu yechidi kommt mitzat b'chinas yachid. The point that Rashi says, that Hashem is actually the very only existence and there is nothing else, that's when you go to the very source itself, to the essence of Hashem Himself, over there on the level of Yachid. Was das is the Isgalus von Atzmas Ein Sof Baruch Hu, when the essence of Hashem is revealed as is, Kanal from Pirish Admar Zaken, as explained before, that the Alter Rebbe says that this is the revelation of the very essence of Hashem. Legabi Atzmas Ein Sof Baruch Hu, Ein Shum Mitzias Klal. when you have the revelation of the very essence of Hashem, here there's no room for anything else. Nothing else actually does exist. This is an expression that's quoted from Hemshech Samach Vav that the Rebbe Rashab says. So when you have the revelation of Atzmos that's revealed how, in what Eifen, in an Eifen where the Eibishter decided that he wants there to be a Metzias of a world, so then there, on that level, you have an existence of Torah and mitzvahs in the Metzias of the world. But when you have the revelation of Atzmos revealing who he truly is, not revealing who he is in relation to what he wants to be in the Metzias of the world, here, Ein Shum Metzias Klal. Everything in the world is just a pure expression of him. It's expressing totally the Eibishter himself, and there is no room for anything else. So it's two different levels in Einod Milvadai, what level of godliness we're talking about. Is it a level of revelation, what Hashem wants in relation to the world? Or is it actually a revelation of Atzmos himself, where there the Taka is no room for anything else? Und das ist der Chiluk zwischen Pirish Rambam und Pirish Rashi. This is the difference in the meaning of Einod Milvadai, and the difference between the Rambam and Rashi, and why each one chooses his approach and his level in explaining Einod Milvadai. The Rambam redt wegen der Meaning von Einod Milvadai, wie das ist an Inyan in Halacha und a Geil Halacha. The Rambam explains Einod Milvadai as a subject in Halacha and as it's relevant to Halacha. Und wie bald as in Halacha is Negei Metzias Olam. Since in Halacha it's relevant to say that yes, there is a level where the world does exist. Mit welchem is Mekayim the Halachas HaTorah. And here you fulfill the halachas that it says in the Torah. Machtoif halacha lemafreya metzias olam. So the halacha retroactively is the source of why we must say and why there is an existence of the world. The Rebbe teach the Rambam ein sham motzi emes movade kamaisai. Therefore, the Rambam says that on this level there is no other existence that's true besides his existence, because here we're speaking about the Eibishter Atzmos that comes down and wants that there should be a Metzias of a world, and that's how he's going to be expressed, in the Metzias of the world. Was das retzich wegen der Madrege and the Lakus, wie retzich kaviyachol mashpel gewen in the beginning von Matzi Rishon. This is speaking about a level of godliness where Hashem lowers himself down, and he could be referred to with the term of Matzi Rishon, the first existence, using the term Rishon, meaning in relation to something else that exists. In order to create all of creation. Was mitzad der Madrege is do an art of Metzias Olam und danach Metzias Olam. It's on this level where there's space, there's a room for something else to exist, and the actual world to come into existence, and then the Inyan of Torah mitzvahs. But since the world does not exist on its own at all, nor blois mitzad the Meibishten, it only exists because of Hashem, because He wants it to exist, and He decided, and it's all but it's saying that there should be a world that should have this existence. The Matzi Rishon, the first existence. The Riber is in it kemetzias amitis. So therefore, the world that exists, it's not that it really exists. It doesn't. The world is really, in truth, only an expression of what He wants, that Hashem decided that it should be, and it's really all expressing that. However, the fact that Hashem wants this and decided it should be, it's real. It creates on this level. Hashem comes down to create that the world should be. That's what the Rambam expresses in the Pirish of Einod Milvadai in relation to the Metzias of the world in the Inyan of Torah Mitzvahs. Rashi aber is mefarish den Pasik, wie das ist bepshute shel mikra. Rashi, however, explains the Pasik in the simple meaning of the Pasik. Dem Sipor, wie der Eibishter hat sich bewiesen zu Yidden, keshanas na kosh baruch es ha-Torah. The story of Hashem revealing himself to Yidden when he gave them the Torah. Und wie bald, as b'shas Matan Torah is given der Gilui ha'atzmos. And since at the time of Matan Torah, there was the revelation of the Eibishter himself. The very essence of Hashem is revealed, not this that Hashem wants, that there should be something and therefore there's a source for creation, but just revealing who He is. Totally Him. The Rebbe sagt Rashi, was is jene shel Torah. So therefore Rashi tells us, and Rashi in his words, the very words itself is the wine and the secret of Torah, Ro Shehu Yechidi. That the Yidden saw at Matan Torah that Hashem is the very only existence. When it's Hashem Himself that's revealed, is Ein Shum Metzias Klal. There is nothing else. Everything else that exists is nothingness. It's just all an extension of Him. Okay, Yudua, and it's known as Lagabi Atzmos, is nit shaykh sagen milas echad. As the explanation already referenced the Bekitzer before, that when we speak of the Eibishter himself, the term of echad cannot be used. Vorem echad weist nit auf shlilas metzias ha'olam. The term echad, which means that he's one, and he's the only, seemingly, the word echad also says that he's the only existence. And this is the whole Inyan here that we're discussing is all based on the Chlal, the approach of the Baal Shem Tov, that Havaya Echad and Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad does not only mean that Hashem is the only creator, but Hashem is the only existence. But that, expressed in the word of Echad, does not totally negate the existence of the world. The Achdus von Havaya Echad weist as Metzias ha'olam is meuchedes mit dem Eibishten. The term Echad means that there is an existence of the world, and this world is unified with him. Kipirish hasmak b'teves echad, as the pshat that the smak says, brought in halacha on the word of echad, according to the Gemara, as is an da shivarikiyim v'aretz, that there are 7 heavens and there's the earth below. V'zenem merumas in them ches von echad, that's hinted in the ches of the word echad. On dal druchas aylam, the 4 directions of the world, v'zenem merumas in them dalet, hinted in the dalet. And they are all totally bottle and one to the master of the universe. That's the aleph of the word echad. Und der Reif von Achtus ist verbunden mit der Koyach Halaki beginnes ha'or, was is begeder ha'olamis. This level of unity and oneness with Hashem is all based on a level of revelation, a light, which is related to one degree or another to an existence of a world that the light is for, or being mashpia to. In the language of the Rambam, that Hashem is referred to as the first existence. But when we speak of the Eibishter himself, here the term is to be used is not Rishon or Echad nor Yochid. As that Hashem is the very only existence, and it's only Him, and there's nothing else that exists at all. And that's the level that Rashi is talking about. Based on this, we can understand why Rashi uses 2 different terms when he speaks of Hashem opening up the higher spiritual worlds. He uses the term opening up, pasach, but he also uses the term kara, that Hashem tore open the higher worlds. On das, as Rashi menames, b'shini al shenis anal b'pirushay. All of this, Rashi here hints in the change in the language that Rashi uses in his Pirush. He begins with pasach lehem shivarikiyim, that Hashem opened up the 7 heavens. And then he says, "Ukishem shakaras al yainim kach karas latachtenim." That just like he tore open the higher worlds, he also tore open the lower worlds. Pasach lehem shivarikiyim. The term that Rashi uses to open up the 7 heavens, weist in Gilei Lakos, was is in the shivarikiyim gufa. This is referring to a level of godly revelation that comes through the existence of the spiritual worlds of the 7 heavens. In Eilemis Hayanim, in the higher world, this haste. What this means is, as Kishenasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu es HaTeire, when Hashem gave Yidden the Teire, seinen es gal geworden zu Yidden, nit nur die niederike Kavayachom Adreges in Elikos, that it's not only the lower levels of godliness that are revealed, Asher Ba'aretz, B'Rekia Aleph, that are in the world below, or in the first level of Rekia, nor alle B'chines von Giluyim in Elikos, was B'chlalus, wenn es in the Shiva Rekia. All levels of godly revelation that are generally hinted in this number of 7 Rikiyim was revealed at the time of Matan Torah. That's one point Rashi says. Aber das was al yainim zene megala lakos. This point, the fact that the spiritual worlds reveal godliness, is this nar amadrege en lakos was is verbunden and not a shayches zu eir vigili. This is all referring to a level of light and godly revelation. Und again, was das direkt is durch al which is expressed by the existence of the spiritual world. Aber, however, Atzmus ein Saiv, the essence of Hashem, was is hecher for jede beginne von Gilui, which is totally higher than any level of light or revelation, is geschehen, wie Nivram tachteinem seinen im nitten begale. Just like the worlds below, as explained before, the yesh of the world does not express and say anything that reveals him. Al derech zeh, similar and nachmer, and even more so, is nitshayach as there's on this galeveren durich di al. It's impossible to say that there's any level of a spiritual world with whatever expression of what it tells about godliness that you should say that it really expresses him, the Eibishter himself. Not even through the highest level of any godly revelation. How is Hashem himself revealed beyond any level of really revelation that comes through light? Is das in nikra bittul oilmus. That is by tearing, by totally nullifying any level of existence of any world. As es herzich vi ein shum metzias klal. When you can sense that nothing, there's no existence at all. Hashem is yichidi completely on every level. That's where you have only Hashem himself, atzmus, the Eibishter himself, yichidi. So therefore, this term of yichidi is literally the very only existence, and therefore both al yairim and tachtainim, it's all the same thing. They don't express the yichidi of Hashem at all. Das is Rashi Meisif as nachdem inni from Pasach. Therefore, Rashi adds here, after he says Pasach, that Hashem opened up to see the expression of him in the higher worlds, is the Nach gewend der Inyan was Asmus hat sich bewiesen. After that, there's a higher concept, there's a higher idea that you have the essence of Hashem revealed. Und das hat sich ausgedrückt in dem, was geschehen, shekoras al yainem kach, koras atachtainim. This is expressed by the fact that just like Hashem tears open the higher worlds, it's the same with the lower worlds. Sai al yainem, und sai tachtainim haben it kein metzias. Both the higher worlds and the lower worlds have no existence at all. Kara zeh metzias, you have to totally tear and you express that their existence is nothing. It's only then that you see that Hashem is the very only existence. This is the revelation of Hashem himself, Yochid. As the term Yochid expresses, Hashem is the very only existence. And that's why Rashi uses both of these expressions. So it's not a repetition and just with a change of an expression, but it's two different levels. The revelation of Pasach, in the way Hashem is expressed through the existence of the worlds, the higher worlds that are a keli to express Hashem, that's a level of godliness where there's a hashpala, where Hashem is on a level related to the existence of the world, and then atzmos, Hashem himself, where there is no other metzias at all. Since all Yidden saw this, that Hashem is the very only existence at the time of Matan Torah, is move on as das is an Inyan, was is Nigeya, zu Nesinis v'Kabbalas HaTorah, zum Kiyum HaTorah, mitzvahs von Yidden. So it's understood that this is something which is relevant to Hashem giving the Torah and the Yidden receiving the Torah and to fulfill Torah mitzvahs. Und Mikol Shekein Defon, this is understood definitely from the fact was jede Zach was a Yid zet or the head is a Iran in Zan Avedis Hashem. Whatever a Yid sees or experiences is a lesson in Avedis Hashem. Is the halachas kama v'kama definitely as a riyim von ato hareisol adaskayim Hashem revealing Himself. Pasach lehem shiver kiyim ukishem shekoras al yenim kach koras atachtainim is a hayra klalis versus negeya zu daveda bepayel and kiyim atayr v'mitzvos from Yidden b'meshach kol hadeiros. It's a general lesson, and this is relevant for the actual aveda of Yidden in all times. The klalis defun v'sro shu yichidi is moving bepashtus. There's a general lesson here. From this that Yidden see that Hashem is the very only existence is simply understood. Und wie Moshe Ibetzelendig as Atar Reisel Das Einoid Movadoi hat ausgeführt bis Sefer Parsha. And as you see Moshe Rabbeinu himself relating this to Yidden, and as he tells them that Hashem revealed himself, and you saw that Hashem is the very only one, how does Moshe Rabbeinu continue and explain afterwards? That therefore, Vishamarta es chukav es mitzvesa v'asher anoichim mitzav chayim. Therefore, you have to keep all of his mitzvahs that he commands you today. Valzendig as hu yichidi, when a Yid sees that Hashem is the very only existence, is move on, so it's understood as a Yid of Mekayim sein Rotzen Hashem in Anoifin as es kein nafkeminenit was sein the mentioned Rotzen is. So it's understood that the only thing that matters is the will of Hashem, and it does not matter at all what the person's will is. Hashem is the very only existence. So either way, whether you want or not, Hashem's will be fulfilled, because that is the really the only existence. Und kein Sach nicht abhalten na Yidden vom Mekayim sein Rotzen Hashem. There is nothing that could stop a Yid from fulfilling the will of Hashem finden sich b'chol inyonav lo teiras Hashem b'teirasai, and that a Yid should conduct his life in all matters according to the guidance of Hashem in Torah. Was es nicht dort kein ander Metzias amitis ba'olam was soll meilem sein chas v'sholem and nicht zulassen Mekayim sein Rotzen Ritzainen, because there is no other real existence in the world that could then cover over and stop a Yid and not allowing him to fulfill the will of Hashem. Und nicht nur der Inyan Klali, as Rosh Yichidi is Negeya zum Kiyama Torah Mitzvahs. And it's not only the general point that Yidden saw that Hashem is the very only existence that is relevant to strengthen a Yid, to have the ability to do Torah Mitzvahs. The two levels, as explained, the level of opening up godly revelation, and then to tear away where you make the point that there's nothing that exists other than Hashem. Those are 2 points that are relevant to apply in a Yid's Aveda based on what we learned before. Warum von der Reia Hanav und Matan Teire haben Yidden genommen der Ra und es sind es Koyach in die zwei Eifanem und Madreges Anal. Because from this, Yidden took the lesson and the power in the 2 different aspects of a Yid's Aveda. The Aveda by Fishel Pasach, al derech vi Aveda Sabirurim. There's a Yid serving the Eibishter on a level of Pasach, where the approach and to the involvement in the world is that you have to open up to see the meaning and the purpose of what everything in the world is about. On the Aveda B'Ofen Shokara, Al Derech the Aveda Sanisyanis. And then when a Yid is confronted with a Helen V'Asta to the point that there's nothing here to refine, there's nothing positive here. Over here you have to draw from the very essence of Hashem and to be strong to stand up against a challenge. Api Kolanal is Oich Muvan B'Negeya Dem Gilia Lakos V'Zved Durech Aveda Sodom. With all of this, we also understand regarding godly revelation that a Yid brings into the world through serving Hashem. Kishain Viva Matan Teire, just as it was at the time of Matan Teire, is durch dem was Kara Chulu, gewend dem Ato Reisol Adas, that the Kara, Hashem tears open, in other words, making the point that there's nothing other than Hashem Himself, and Yidden saw, Ra'u Shuhu Yechidi, Yidden saw that Hashem is the very only existence, der Gilui Ha'atzmus, the revelation of Hashem Himself, B'Ofen Shoriyeh, was bring to Ladas, and Yidden see this, and therefore they know it now. Yediyah v'hakara, to have a real recognition, not by understanding logically, but by seeing it. Al derech zeh, similar is an Avedas Adam, in a Yid's approach in serving Hashem, as dafke, the Aveda from Kara, es al yonim v'tachtenim, when a Yid is ready to negate and to tear and to put aside any level of existence, higher, lower, the Aveda shalamayla mimedida v'akbala, serving Hashem without any boundaries. Avedas anisyanis mitzat pchenes yichidish benefesh. This is the Aveda when a Yid is confronted by a test and he stands strong because of the deepest part of his neshama that's one with Hashem, the Yechide. Was is keireya ala meschim v'agbalas del yenim v'tachtenim. And that tears apart all levels of concealment that there may be on higher levels and lower levels, as explained before, even regarding the kaiches of a person himself. Brengt der giloi b'chinas yichidi. This is what brings the revelation of Hashem Himself. Atzmus ein sof baruch hu. Und das bringt zu ladas, and this brings a Yid to know ki menasa geime. The only reason Hashem tests a Yid is ladas, to bring him to the true understanding, as es wird by him, dem das, v'hasage, v'hargoshe, bo yizbarach, b'chinas riyeh. That you have the understanding and you grasp Hashem Himself on the level of riyeh, not by seichel, but to know Him Himself. The akara belakos kilu raya b'riyeh chushes, to have such a strong recognition that Hashem is the very only existence, like when you see something physically. Und dafke durch der Aveda, was is beikir bisman hagolus, specifically through this kind of Aveda of Mesiras Nefesh, which is primarily relevant in the time of Golus, is men noch mehr memayr bias Mashiach tzidkenu. We bring even quicker, we hasten the coming of Mashiach. Then es wird sein, v'niglo k'foid avaya, v'ro kol basra tivtzi, the open revelation of Hashem, riyas hamahus, when we see Hashem for what He is, truly, ayin ba'ayin yiru b'riyah chushes, to see like we see Hashem tangibly, to see actually tangibly. But however, then when Mashiach comes, that es nit sein in a neifung von Kara, then it will not be by tearing and by breaking. Because then the very physical of the world itself will be refined. The very essence of Hashem Himself will actually be revealed in the physical existence of the world itself. As a mitis, mitzias, hayesha nivra. What's the true existence of the yesh that exists? The fact that there could be such an existence, that you look at it and you don't see it being traced to anything else. That I'm it. That's what the yesh says. What is that truly? Is the yesh miti. It's an expression of Hashem Himself, which is the true existence, and He's it. That's what will be revealed within the existence of the world itself. Mabiyam Beis Hamikdash Shlishi, the building of the third Beis Hamikdash, Shiyeh Avnei Gazis, that will be built from the stones that will be chiseled to be built the Beis Hamikdash, HaMizbeach Eitz v'chulu, and the Mizbeach of wood, Ubiyachadem Zeh. Together with this that we build it, it will be Mikdash Adnai Koinenu Yedacha, the Mikdash that Hashem will build with His hands.